Paul. I appreciate your time today. Nice to meet you.
Oh, you too. Thanks.
Uh, what if really provides us with an opportunity to actually see some of the conversations sometimes we may have with our friends of what what
Yep.
if this happened, what if that
Yep.
happened. For you, what was your experience in having to recreate so many of these familiar places?
Well, it's funny because I'm sure that your conversations were exactly the conversations that happened for the reason we're even doing this. The executive producer is like, what would happen if we did that? And it's like, well, here's our chance. Let's do it. Why not? And I'm sure that's where, the guys who did the original comic books whenever that whole series started, I'm sure that's exactly what they were doing. Like, what if Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive badger or whatever? Like, what would happen? Let's follow the thread. No, it's fun. It's really a kick to be involved in that. I mean, it's funny because, like, as a professional production designer, I don't really think of it that way. It's like in some ways, yeah, it's another job. Let's go in, let's design this place, and move on and go to the next one. But you get so invested in these movies and in these worlds, and then this whole kind of crazy universe that we've created somehow.
Yeah.
But no, it's you start at the beginning because it's a huge thing to wrap your head around. I mean, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is gigantic, and it's like this small corner of the Marvel universe. And now the What If universe, or multiple versions of that. It's fairly daunting, honestly. But from a production designer standpoint, you just start at page one and go to page two. One episode at a time.
Yeah, because I can't imagine the challenges of yes, you're on Earth, but this is with
Yep.
Peggy Carter, you're in this time. And
Yep.
then go
I
ahead.
mean, we have a limited number of time, or a limited amount of time we have, obviously, to do all of it. It's a very practical sense. We have like average 6 weeks to design an episode, sometimes seven, sometimes four, depending on the episode. So, we've got not a huge team of designers. Myself, we've got two art directors, and then about, 8 or 9 designers. And we try to do as much as possible in the 6 weeks. We go through, we look at the script, we look at the storyboards, we break it down, figure out what our locations are, do the math. You got 20 locations, you got 6 weeks, how much time do you have per location? All right, go. So we assign one location to one artist, we assign one location to another artist. That's pretty much the process.
And I'm assuming you're using the feature films as
Oh,
references.
Oh, absolutely. Not only are we using them, we're relying on them,
Okay.
because some of the episodes are episodes. I mean, some of the shots are literally not frame by frame, but scene by scene, callbacks to moments from the film. So yeah, we absolutely have to follow them. So when designing a set, we've got to use those sets, but we rely on it. I mean, we've got so much to do in such a short period of time. I don't think that we would have been able to design the Rebirth Lab from scratch. We use the designs from the movie. We would get, we'll go back into the Marvel archives and actually get the plans, the construction plans from the set builds. Oh, absolutely. And then every now and then we've actually got a 3D model that was made. Sometimes it was just a previs model for helping those directors work on those shots. Sometimes it's an effects model like Wakanda. Wakanda is not a real place. And, the sets were individual buildings and maybe like an alleyway or something, but the entire city of Wakanda, that only exists as a 3D model, probably built by ILM or something. I'm not sure who built it, and a series of matte paintings from Black Panther. We'll absolutely use those things if we can.
So what kind of partnership do you have with, like, for example, an animation supervisor, and what you guys do to work together?
We work quite a bit together. I mean, Stefan Franck, who's our animation supervisor, I mean, he and I were good friends, and I'd never worked with him before, but we became very fast friends. But we're in a lot, clearly we're in a lot of meetings together. We'll comment on each other's stuff. We will work a bit together on certain things, but animation is his thing. The set design is my thing. We don't really have time to interact that much on that stuff, but it's all, like anything, it's a big team effort. So
Yeah, absolutely. I was mentioning to some of your colleagues that you guys are technically the Avengers behind the scenes, because without you,
Yep.
none of this is possible.
Yep.
It's a great job. Do you have a favorite episode you worked on, for example?
I keep saying that. I've had that question a couple times. I keep saying episode 3, and I don't know exactly why, but I keep coming back to it as being one that I love. I love the way it plays out. Maybe it's the multiple characters.
Mhm.
I think a lot of it for me is that it feels it's got a like kind of a film noir, kind of vibe to it that I love. But I love the history of the Captain Carter episode, and I love the sci-fi mashup with Guardians and Wakanda for number 2, and the just crazy trippiness of the Doctor Strange episode, and then the next episodes that you haven't seen yet, each of them have something fun in them too.
It's funny. Someone had mentioned to me earlier that you might have a favorite episode depending on how you're feeling that week or what you're going through, because they each have such a specific theme.
Well, and like and you haven't gotten to some of the other episodes, but
Mhm.
without giving spoilers, like some are really funny and some are super serious, and I mean, like the whodunit episode was
Right.
dead serious. I mean,
Yes.
it's our beloved heroes are all getting picked off one by one, and I mean, we watched Thor get killed, we watched Tony Stark die. I mean, and how many people were bawling their eyes out at the end of Infinity War
Right.
when or Endgame when Tony dies. I mean, that was a that's a big moment for a lot of people. I mean, when I saw that movie, I saw it with some of my friends, and their daughter was literally weeping in the theater. I mean, just
Oh,
and like audibly weeping, and she wasn't the only one. So like we took that episode and we killed what, 4 or 5 of them, 6 of
yeah.
them, these beloved characters. But we also know that we reset right at the next episode, they're back to life, and who cares? So it's we don't it's not that much of an investment, but that's cool stuff. It's fun stuff. It's powerful stuff.
Is there anything in what you do for as a production designer that's kind of like, I would say, something you're very proud of that an audiences necessarily won't see? That is like, you just wish everybody would know this is what goes into this job, and this is kind of what makes it so special.
Yes, and I'm gonna give a shout out to my one of my art directors, Cynthia Halley, who is our 2D layout supervising, art director. And what she does is she's the one who is in charge of the design of the show, like of she's leading the people who are literally designing the sets, and she's also the one who is leading the team that's doing the 2D drawings of all of the layouts, that then get painted. The paintings themselves are what you see on screen, and they're gorgeous, right? I mean, it's like that in all 2D animation.
Right.
But there's those people behind the scenes who are doing those drawings, and the paintings look fantastic because the drawings are fantastic. Um, so I'm proud of all of it, but I also see all of the artwork that goes into the creation of this stuff that doesn't ever get seen by anybody.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. It's like the guys who build the 3D models. That stuff doesn't get seen. It's the cool rendering of the model that gets seen. Or
Yeah.
like we do tons of these little color paintings that will only end up maybe in an art of book if we're lucky,
Mhm.
but all of those little paintings are what guide the final look of the show. There's so much under the surface that, again, that's why the art of books even started happening, because that stuff never gets seen, and it's thousands and thousands of pieces of artwork all done by incredibly talented artists. I mean, people who should be in a museum.
Yeah.
They're as good as any of these guys that you see in these great museums throughout the world. These artists are just as talented and it's just as studied and prolific, but their work never gets seen by anybody. Now with the internet, everybody's got their ArtStation websites, and people
Yeah.
start showing this stuff now, and it's really cool to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insight and what goes on behind the scenes. What If is such a great show. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking to you again for future episodes.
All right, me too.
All right,
Thanks.
take care.